you missed the beginning of the broadcast, welcome to CONSIM Game Jam Edition 1. Thank you all for coming and participating to that event. The objective of that kickoff is twofold. First, just to give you some context for Edition 1, specify what's the theme, and share with you the rules and answer all of your questions. Then in the second part of that kickoff, Joe was kind enough to come in and fill in for Jason, and he actually had a great idea. He's going to show you an example of project that could be something that could be submitted for that specific theme of CONSIM Game Jam #1. So let's start. I just want to give a bit context on the CONSIM Game Jam before we talk about the rules. And I just want to talk about why we're doing this. The idea that we had, and that's something that we discussed a lot with Sean, who's in the chat right now, and Joe. So both Joe and Sean are helping me organizing this. So it's a 3-person operation. Why sometimes not everything works technically, but we're putting a lot of hard work in there, and I hope everything will go well for this weekend. And why we're doing this, the idea is that we really want to create a space for young design, or people interested in design, students, or anyone interested in history and a new way to approach it, to experiment with wargame design. We're passionate about wargaming. We think it's an amazing way to approach history, and we want to share that with a wide audience. And we thought that making something of a community event, a fun event over a weekend, would be really cool. And we truly believe that the best way to approach design is to fail fast, have fun, and if along the way you can make friends, that's actually quite cool. We see that a lot of other industries have been doing it. So it has been happening in video game industry for a long time, and it had some pretty amazing events. Actually, this weekend is also the weekend of the Ludumare event, which is the biggest video game jam, which was a bit dumb from my part to actually have the event at the same time, but we learned and we won't do the same mistake next time. And it also started happening on the board gaming part. But there is, to our knowledge, no game jam for wargaming. And we thought, well, there is an opportunity here. Let's put it out there and see how people react, and if we actually have an audience for it. So it's the first time that we do it. We basically have no clue what we're doing. So it's very nice from you to trust us, participate, have fun with us, and be basically our guinea pigs for the first event. And if it goes well and we're happy with the results, the idea for us is to have something like this every 6 months with a radically different theme, and ideally different sponsors over time. Of course, we're very happy if GMT will sponsor again a future CONSIM Game Jam, but the idea is also to open up to a very wide audience. So, let's get into the serious stuff, and let's talk about the theme of Edition 1. So there was a lot of speculation, and there is one team that got very, very close to finding what was the theme of the edition, and that's Team Crocoduck, I think. And I think that's it, Joe. I'm not sure. And it was Chuckles 2000 or something like this. That was so very close to find the theme of this year edition. So we were really wondering if someone would find it. And this year edition is Recycle a Coin Game. So knowing the jury, you knew that it was about coin, but there was a bit of a twist. The idea of this weekend is that you're going to make war game using components for one of the games of the coin series, the released one. So up until All Bridges Burning, starting from Andean Abyss. What you're going to use is the map and the wooden bits for that game. And what we ask you to do is, on top of this, create a new set of rules, potentially create a new deck, create new overlays, create new counters, whatever you want that is paper or cardboard based. The idea is it would be a good submission if you could actually get this in a small Ziploc, and you will just have to have the original coin game to play it with it. I just specify something, and it's really important. A lot of people are going to ask, is it supposed to be a coin expansion to an existing coin game? It could, if you want to do that. And actually, there is an example that we'll talk about that is exactly that. Does it need to be that? Definitely not. Please have fun with the system. Even don't respect it if you want. If you want to make TDG just using the map, that's totally fine with us. It's just that try to use those components in a new and creative way. What's a submission like? as we already said, but we'll share more information with you and answer all of your questions. A project submission is a set of rules in all components, so in PNG, JPEG, or whatever format that you want. And then we want a presentation of that prototype, a 10 minutes video. And I say 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes max, because there is a lot more teams than what we expected, and we have to be careful about the fact that the jury will have to review all of those projects. So 10 minutes video max, and a small written presentation of 1 and 2 page. And ideally, if you can, provide a TTS or a Vassal module for the jury to play with your prototype. So that's the idea. 3 days, 22 teams, recycle a coin game. Just an overview. So Joe did this afternoon. I think it's a really interesting thing to look at is all the maps of the coin game that were released display on the world map. Just to show you that even though it's not covering the whole world and it's not covering Japan yet, it's showing you all of the different things that you can all of the different maps that you can use. So there is a wide range of things to do. Please be creative. And I think there is a lot of options here. A small comment about the schedule. So as we said, from now, because that's the kickoff, until Sunday, 23.59 GMT. So just to be very clear, up until midnight GMT, you can work on your prototypes. Just for you to know, on Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. GMT, we'll have some members of the jury that will come in and to do a bit of a check-in with all the teams, answer some of your questions, eventually provide some tips. And then at midnight on Sunday, you need to send me your project. So the address is, we already shared, but we'll share it again. It's fred@consimgamejam.com. You send it to me, I'll prepare everything and send it to our jury. For those who don't know, the jury is Morgan Gouillon-Réty, so the designer of Pendragon, Volker Runke, I guess that most of you also know him, which is the inventor of the coin series, and Jason Carr, the lead dev of the coin series. Share the results of that first edition of the CONSIM Game Jam the following week after the projects have been released. Originally, the plan was to share the results on Wednesday, but there is an attendance that is a bit larger than what we expected. If we have actually 22 projects at the end of the weekend to review, it might take our jury a bit longer than expected. So we'll see, but we commit to spend less than a week in reviewing the projects and choosing a winner. And what do you win? And that's something that we're super happy with, and we want to thank our two sponsors. First of all, the winning team, for each of the members of that winning team, they will receive a GMT game of their choice. Jason Carr asked if you could choose a GMT game that is full of errata, that would be better, so they could get rid of stocks. So think about it, just be nice. And then, of course, the additional gift is Donald Hegarty, which is a professional board game designer that is designing doing some graphics design for GMT. He did 1960, the CDG, also worked on Labyrinth. We'll do professional artwork for your project at the end of the project. And now I'm going to leave the presentation to Joe to give you a bit of inspiration and to talk to you about one of his projects that he worked on with Sean a few months ago called Days of Pigs, just to give you a bit of an idea of what kind of project could fit within that game jam. But before we go there, I just want to make sure that we answer the questions that we have on the chat. So do we have something? So people have ideas. Oh, there is one super important question that I think we need to address. So Joe, there are some questions about what are you wearing on your head? And I have the question.
What do you think it is?
A bigger one.
Should we let them guess? So there's a slight delay on this, so let's give them 30 seconds or so to guess. Can anyone guess what I'm wearing on my head?
I don't know. I think it's very hard to define, and the video is a bit blurry.
Yeah, it is. So it's actually a Harris tweed hat from the Isle of Harris off the coast of Scotland, but it looks quite Russian, or possibly if you flatten the top, Fred thought it looked like a kind of Afghan hat. So,
yeah, it did look like an Afghan thing, a Pashtun hat. Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah.
And I guess that's pretty much the only actual question that we had. We had Kausgood that is pretty happy. He actually guessed that it was an Afghan communist workers cap, which is probably not that far. And then someone thought that it was potentially a stuffed domestic cat, which is also a pretty good guess. But no.
So I do actually have a live cat here, but she's sleeping right now. Otherwise, I would show you her.
I don't know if you can just we'll try to put it on your head afterwards. But if there is no questions, so that's fine. Of course, you can reach out to us on the Discord server, or you can send me an email, or use any means of communication you want. There is also the Twitter account that is up and running, so feel free to reach out and ask any question, and we'll update the website with the rules, and we'll share the rules on Discord, so everything will be accessible. And now, for a bit of inspiration, I'm gonna share Joe's screen and let him talk about his experience working with Sean on Days of Pigs.
Thanks, Fred. We'll also hang around for a few minutes after this in case anyone has any more questions, so feel free to add those to the chat. Okay, so let me go. So yes, this is a game I designed with Sean O'Keefe a few months ago, in April, in fact, weirdly, called Days of Pigs, Hypothetical Invasions of Cuba, April 1961. And this is, as you might be able to guess, an expansion for Cuba Libre, focusing on the Bay of Pigs invasion or similar hypothetical invasions. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but primarily I want to tell you about how we made it, because it's the kind of thing I think you could make in 3 days. So in late April this year, Sean and Fred, I said here, tricked me into working on a lunchtime coin. And overnight, more or less, I came up with the concept for this, for Days of Pigs, which is a 2-player, 1-campaign micro coin. And so that was done overnight. And then over the next couple of days, I continued to refine it. But that was all done really very quickly. And if I'd been focusing on that exclusively, I think I could have got a more or less finished product just in a couple of days. And then over the next few weeks, me and Sean continued to work on it, which I'll tell you about. In this picture here, you can see, well, you can't really see very well, but there's some very rough components there. So I'm using mostly just the base components from Cuba Libre. I've kind of scrawled the 2-player sequence of play from Colonial Twilight onto a card and put it over the regular sequence of play. And I haven't even made any proper events at this point. I'm just using kind of dummy events. And the basic idea with this expansion is that, oh no, here's the finished thing. So a few weeks later, I'd made a tabletop simulator module for it with all the cards and everything, which Sean has nicely done the graphic design for. That's us playing it. And I'll tell you more about that later. The basic idea for this expansion is that you've got 2 factions. You've got the Brigade 2506, who launch an invasion against Castro's Cuban government in 1961. And it's a very short deck, so just 12 events. So it's just 1 campaign, essentially. So you've got no resources being used, really, or anything like that, just some for the Brigade. And the Brigade pick a random invasion location. So that's the real innovation, is they pick one of the 7 provinces to invade. And there's a bit of a kind of espionage phase before they invade, and then more of an outright war. So here they've chosen the traditional Bay of Pigs site in Matanzas, here. And you can see here as well the 2-player initiative track overlay. So this is the kind of card overlay you could make, which could hypothetically be just a kind of print and play component. And then this, I'm using the regular US Alliance track, but you'll see here, these are the 2 overlays I made for this game. So the new initiative track, and which is just really a copy of the Colonial Twilight initiative track, and this economy track. So rather than using resources, the government has actions equal to their unsabotaged ECs +1, and this is used to track it. But I was actually originally just using the US Alliance track to track this. But this is a card overlay you could then place on top of the board. So this is 2 simple components, and then there's just a deck of 36 cards, and those are the only additional components for this game. I was actually reusing the control markers from Cuba Libre and the terror markers and the sabotage markers. So you could reuse components like that, or you could make new markers, because those are things which could be part of a print and play, or a magazine game, like Fred suggested. So these are the invasion cards. So you've got the 7 different invasion sites, and then the CIA withdrawals card, which is shuffled into the bottom part of the deck. And then in the end, we made 24 event cards. But to begin with, we only made 12. And what we were doing here was really just trying to do what you might call minimal viable product or something like that. So we really just wanted the core prototype design to test it and see if it worked. And that's what you should be aiming to come up with over this weekend. So the design will almost certainly need some further work, but you want to just have the basic core design such that it can be looked at and pitched to somebody, basically. So we made 12 of these events to begin with, and then eventually an extra 12, so there's some more variation. But that's the kind of thing you could add in later in the development process if the basic structure of the game works fine. Okay. One advantage to making a historical game like this as well is there's lots of nice artwork you can find, lots of archival material. And what me and Sean did when we continued working on this is Sean lives in Australia, so I would work on coming up with some new rules during the day, and then I'd ask Sean to find some pictures and put the event decks together and stuff, come up with some new events during my nighttime. So he would work on that during his day, and then we'd switch over. So if any of you have very international teams, some of you have been concerned about kind of scheduling meetings, but don't worry so much about that as a weakness. I think it can really be a strength because you can almost double your working time if you're able to hand over tasks to each other from day to day. So there are the rest of the events. I'll be making all of this available if you want to have a look at it, because this is basically what you would need to submit to Fred, these cards and overlay plus the full rules. The rules for this are 4.5 pages, so really, really very minimal. But that's because it's an expansion kind of game. Shouldn't show you that yet. So yeah, that's Days of Pigs and a little bit about how we worked on it, I suppose. So this is obviously still using the coin system. As Fred said, and I want to emphasize, you don't need to make a coin expansion or an entirely new coin. You could make a new kind of mini game of some other kind, just using one of the coin maps. Or you could just make a small expansion to a coin game. This is a kind of medium small expansion, but you can make something even smaller perhaps. That would be fine. There's no shame in doing that. Okay.
Yes, and just maybe before that, I just want to answer a few questions.
Yep.
So there is someone who's asking, is there a way to get high resolution arts assets, map, and counters from the original game to incorporate in our TTS mod? So if there is a Vassal module, you can already get the components from there, or if there is already a TTS, you can also reuse the content from that. Maybe we can show you afterwards, either during that live stream, or we can have the discussion on Discord, but actually getting the elements is quite easy. And I'm pretty sure that there is at least a dozen people in the, participating in the event that can also show you how to do it, but it's quite easy to do. So
we're gonna be, sorry, just to say a little bit more about it, some of us will be available over the weekend to give advice. The Vassal modules, they're essentially zipped folders, so you can unzip the module itself and find all the assets within it. I'll show you once I've just finished this what you can do with Tabletop Simulator briefly, but go ahead, Fred.
And then we have another question. Can we add additional components, or are we limited to the supply for whichever game we pick? And yes, you are limited to the components of the game you pick. The idea is that, let's say your prototype is being released. As I said in the beginning, you just need to open a Ziploc and open your original con game, and you should be able to play with it. So you are within the constraint of what's present in that box in terms of the map and wooden components. And you're just coming up with rules, cards, potentially counters.
But you could add more card components. So that's not just cards and overlays. That could also be chits. So you could add new small square bits and so on, right? Just not new wooden components.
Great, and I think that's it for the questions. Oh yes, and there is one other question that I already answered a bit in the chat, but just to be clear, does using a map assume the map is the location, or can I just use it for its shape? And we're pretty open to this. But then again, Joe and I are only the host of the event, and what I would say is think about the jury. So just keep this in mind. I won't say too much, but think about what the kind of things they like, what they would potentially appreciate in the prototype within those constraints. But please be creative.
Yeah, but yeah, that's... Sorry, anything else?
And then there is one that says, yes, there's some question about mixing pieces from two different games. And once again, the constraint, and that's creativity is within the limitation. So think about one box, one coin game, one prototype. It's very tempting to get elements from other boxes, but if your project requires to have 3 or 2 different coin games to actually work, then it won't be a valid submission.
But you could, for instance, redefine the gorillas from one game as non-violent pieces. It wouldn't stick to Jason's strict taxonomy of coin pieces, but then who does? I don't think any of the existing coin games do, so that's fine.
Yes, and you can, if you want to create a counter, that's totally fine. It's a cardboard based. Yep. You can have in a Ziploc. It's all good. No new wooden pieces though. And I don't think we have other questions that covers it. So I guess you can go into your surprise.
Yeah, so I just wanted to announce what the staff, so me, Fred, and Sean, will be working on this weekend. I've had loads of ideas in the weeks running up to this, but I wanted to pick an idea which I hadn't already thought about too much. So just earlier today, I came up with the idea to do Alien Abyss. We're going to be Team Crockade presents Alien Abyss, and Alien Abyss is a kind of what-if scenario, imagining that the Predator has landed in war-torn Colombia, and Arnie and his commandos have been sent in to deal with it. So it's going to be a small kind of mini game using the Andean Abyss map and having a Predator faction. So we'll be working on that, and I'm going to be presenting all the nonsense that goes on in my head as I think of it, doing a kind of stream of consciousness, and that will be very fun. But I only came up with that literally a few hours ago, so I really don't have much of a head start on you. I just so I can prove to you that it's possible to make a game in 3 days.
And of course, we cannot win. Just to specify, it's
we're not entering, to be really clear. But we will be working on a design. Obviously, we're not entering. That would be cheating. Okay, so while you answer more questions, Charles, do you want to switch over to my table? I'll switch over to my tabletop simulator and show some things.
Yes, if you send me this, I will replace it with your other stream. And just by the way, while we have a small pause, there is one person that I would really like to thank for making this event possible. And we actually made him a bit fun of him during the stream, but he was crucial in making this happen. So you can definitely thank him if you are having fun this weekend, if you like that project. And that's Jason Carr, who's been super supportive of the project since day one, made it happen, made sure that we had the support from GMT, made sure the interest prizes, provided some super useful feedback for the whole project. So really shout out to him, and we really thank him for all his help on this. Oh, and we have other question. Okay, so we have one question for Headwell, who's not participating, but for example, with Cuba map, I could use it just for the water part of it and transform guerrilla blocks as privateer pirate blocks. Yes, definitely, that would be a valid entry. So yes, you should probably have entered the contest, Headwell. I'm just saying, think about it for next time, but that's actually a pretty good idea. So yes, and I think the question that was really linked to this is, can you use the map creatively? And yes, please do. That's definitely recommended.
Yep. You could even make a game just using the rules-based part of a coin map. So it could be some kind of game where pieces are fighting over control of the sequence of play and the resource track, for instance.
Don't be too creative. This is going too far.
Okay,
yes,
so what I
wanted...
Okay.
No, I would say let's go into a demo. So just to show you on TTS, Joe will show you the Days of Pigs module.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show you how easy it is to use Tabletop Simulator. And in particular, what you can do is there are modules existing. We can link to them maybe for most of the existing coin games, maybe not all Bridges Burning yet. But what you can do is, if you load one up, so this is, I'll load up Andean Abyss, for instance, you can then save this as your own new save file and eventually module, and we can help you with uploading that. But you can take pieces from this. So this has got all the cubes and all the gorillas in it already, and you can either just use them on this board, or you could save them, and then once you've saved it, or as whatever. I've got very bad file conventions. You can go to objects. Actually, what I'll do here is I'll show you how I could then move a gorilla from Andean Abyss into my Cuba Libre game. So already existing here, I've got Days of Pigs somewhere.
Joel, let you stream for alone for a minute. I'm just gonna get a beer. I'll be back.
Sure, that's fine. Fred normally disappears to make coffee, so you can see it's very late for us here in Europe. So yeah, you go to objects, and in objects you've got all kinds of things. So you can put a new board here, which you would get from components, and a new board you could then just upload an image to. So this here is a board I've just uploaded, or someone else, in fact, this is someone else's mod I stole, has uploaded a board thing to, and you can click custom and then load an image. So if you wanted to load a board file, but you should probably be able to get one of those from an existing mod. In components as well, you've got things like square blocks and things. And most importantly, if I go to saved components, objects, I can bring in my Andean Abyss gorilla and put him in here. Not that you're allowed to mix components, but just to show how you could do this. The important thing as well I want to show you is that so there's fancier ways to do this, but all of my initiative tracks and so on, they're just cards. So I need to replace this initiative track actually. So I'll show you how I do that from scratch. I would go to objects, components, cards. I would do a custom card. And then this will immediately pop up with this. And I can just add the thing here. And you want to save it to cloud so that people downloading the module can use it. If you go to local, only you will be able to see it. And then you put these on here. You need to put it back on as well, but I just put the same as the front unless it has a special back. Then I import it, and then I'll get my new component here. It takes a moment to load. There we go. It's quite small there, but I can make it bigger. Yeah.
If it goes too fast and you have some questions afterwards, we can we can definitely help during the weekend. Support some of you in making this.
Yeah. Then you have your new component, and you can put it where you want, and so on. And that's just a card, but it's square shaped. But also, all of these cards here are just cards like that. They're literally just cards which I've uploaded images to. Very easy. There are fancier ways to do it than that, but that's the most straightforward way. These player aids are also just cards, just big cards. That's very simple. This is the module for Days of Pigs, which I'll make available in case anybody is interested in taking a look. Anything else about this you want me to show people?
No, I think that's good. And once again, yeah, keep in mind that it's super easy to use an existing mod and start modifying it. So if you go, for example, for a distant plane, there is already a TTS mod for it, and I think there is TTS mods for most of the games in the coin series. It's pretty easy to just open it up and start modifying it. So that should be quite easy to do. And once again, we'll be here to help when we can if you don't have someone in your team. And I think that that's what Joe is showing. Like you can pick up again and open all the elements that are existing within that game and just use this.
Yeah. And then when you're done, again, we can help you with this. You can just if you where is it, modding, and upload it to the Steam Workshop. It will by default not be available to anybody, so that's not going public, but you can do that and then create a link to it so other people can find it and you can send it to us. So that's how you'll do that, but we can help you if you have any trouble with that. Okay.
So that's a funny question. So we have Carl who's just joining and asking, so is it a coin game? So Carl, yes, the topic is coin games, but you don't have to do a coin game. So just a reminder for Carl is the constraint, and you can watch the video afterwards, it will be available online, is that you have to use the components from one game in the coin series, so one of the released ones, and then create a new game from this. So
not necessarily a coin.
Not necessarily a coin game. You can be as creative as you want. And the name of the theme of this edition 1 is Recycle a Coin Game.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, there is someone that is asking a question that I really don't like. But if we used yes, the Pendragon map to do a Robin Hood theme game, you could do that. You will make an enemy for life, but no, but it's not the right scale. You need Nottinghamshire specifically, so it cannot work. I think it's a really bad idea. You shouldn't do that. Please don't do that. But obviously it could work, yes. Do we have other questions? No, it doesn't look like we have other questions. Yes, people can be cruel, definitely. So, and I think that covers it. I'm pretty excited by this Alien Abyss project. We see how it goes. I don't know. I really like the idea, but it's one of those things where I'm excited about the idea, but I'm not sure that the execution would be interesting. But
do you have faith in me, though, Fred, to do something with it?
Yes, of course. That's not what I'm saying. I have a lot of faith. It's just that maybe the idea was, maybe it's too good. It's too good to be a good game.
I was actually also trying to come up with an idea which I didn't think anyone else would do, because I could, for instance, I could have thought I'll do an Russian-Afghan war expansion for A Distant Plane, which is a perfectly good idea to do. You could do that as a coin, and it'd be really interesting, and reuse the board. But can it be a coin game currently in P500? I think we're saying no, right?
No, yeah, it's only the released game, and the last game released in the series is All Bridges Burning. So it's from Alien Abyss to All Bridges Burning.
Good. Yeah, sorry. So I was just saying there that I didn't want to steal any idea that someone else might come up with, and I don't think anyone else will have thought of doing a Predator game.
I hope so. If someone did, I'm really sorry for them.
Yep.
Good, but I think that that covers it all. I hope that you guys are excited. Someone is saying that it was their first idea, so yeah, too bad. That happens. But yeah, I hope that everyone is excited by the theme. We had a lot of fun discussing it. We're very much looking forward to seeing what you're going to come up with. Very excited to follow the discussion in the different chats. Of course, I have my favorite teams that I keep an eye on. I think the Thompson family is probably one of my favorite one. So I'm really looking for what's going to come out of there. And I would say now just you have a bit more than 72 hours. Actually, we've been super nice. You have 72 hours and 26 minutes. So actually a bit more than that, and 2 hours and 26 minutes.
Yeah, we're ahead of UK.
Yes. Yeah. So you have a lot of extra time. It's going to be fine. I hope that you all have fun, be creative, and ask questions if you have any question. And thank you again for participating. And I think that's it. If there is no other question, we'll leave it to that. And wait a minute. Chaos God has a question. Is it a real question? No, it's not a real question. It doesn't matter. Okay, good. Have fun, everyone. See you.
Bye.